Welcome to a special episode of the Hedgehog Watchdog, episode 4 of our candidate series. And we are joined tonight by the governor candidate, Tracey Quint, and lieutenant governor candidate, Ashley Strand. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, thank you, ladies, for being on tonight. We know you're really busy out there campaigning, changing the world. But we're glad to have you. We wanted, like I said, we wanted to interview all the Libertarian candidates. You guys are actually no strangers to the show. You've been on a couple times, giving us your 2 cents about different things. You've been involved with the Libertarian Party for a few years now each. So you've been involved in some politics along the way. And this year, you were the best option we had, I think, for governor and lieutenant governor. And I'm certainly glad that you guys ran. Maybe first question, just tell us a little bit about why you wanted to run or something like that. Or tell us a little bit about yourselves if you want to.
I think that I decided to run because I've been involved with the Libertarian Party here in South Dakota since I moved here, and it's always been something that's been important to me. And not being, I guess, quote unquote, a native South Dakotan, this is one of the best places that I've ever lived. And I really just, we do a lot of things very well here in the state, and I want to make sure that the freedoms that we enjoy continue to happen, and we continue to strive to create more and better freedoms as well.
I like it. Ashley.
I wanted to run because I have lived in South Dakota my whole life, and you almost never see candidates that look like me, that are younger, like Tracey and I are, and so that's why I wanted to do this.
That's awesome. And I think it's great, too, that we have an all
Wait, I got a follow-up question.
Okay.
What advantage do you think a younger candidate has over an older politician? Either of you?
I was actually talking about this with somebody. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was actually talking about this with somebody the other day, and I think as younger individuals and as people that are quote unquote less experienced with politics, we have the advantage of understanding what everyday people go through within our state and within the country. And we're not necessarily jaded by the political system yet. And we're not indebted to any lobbyists or anything like that. Like, we really just want to see the best things happen for South Dakota as far as individuals go.
I think we're also more in touch with what people our age want. Mm-hmm. I've heard over the few years that I've been involved in politics, lots of complaining about why won't the young people stay here? And I think that's because they don't see themselves in our legislation.
Yeah.
So Larry Roden, the lieutenant governor, I Googled it real quick. He's 63, and Kristi Noem is 50. So, yeah, you guys are definitely beating them in the age factor. I guess my first question, it's actually kind of an easy one. I kind of know maybe how you guys are going to answer anyway. But this November, but you are running for governor, and one of the things on the ballot this year is IM27. It's the ballot measure that we're voting on again to legalize marijuana in South Dakota. The voters actually voted for this already in 2020. Kristi Noem had her cronies file a lawsuit basically on her behalf, overturning the will of the people. But how do you feel about IM27?
I think it's long overdue. I think that we've been dealing with the war on drugs and incarcerating people for substance use and whatnot, when we definitely don't need to be doing that, especially for something as like benign as weed. Like we don't need to be putting people in jail for it. We don't need to be legislating against it. We need to put our concentrations on other things. And I think at this point, if people want to use cannabis for recreational uses or even for medical uses, that's something that people should have the choice to do, especially at this day and age.
I agree. I think it's long overdue, and I think it's just ridiculous what happened last time around. I hope we can get the numbers this time around, and if we're elected, we won't be making a veto brand iron to shoot down what the voters of South Dakota want.
Tracey, if you're elected, would you pardon people convicted of marijuana crimes in South Dakota?
I would definitely look into it. Yeah. I mean, I would have to see if they're in there just because of marijuana crimes, then I think that's something that definitely needs to be looked into. If it's related to a violent crime, then we have to take a look at those as well and figure out what else is on the ticket. But I mean, if they're in there just for like possession by ingestion, that's something we need to start freeing people for.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize, but like in South Dakota, you can still face serious prison time for certain like concentrates, even vape pens. I'm pretty positive brownies are still considered a controlled substance in South Dakota. And I know I ran for office a couple times, and I live down in your old school area, USD, and I spoke at USD, and I would hear from some of the students there that it was actually a problem because you had people coming into this state, maybe they didn't live here, they came to school here, and now they're facing felony charges because of, marijuana, whether it's a vape or a brownie, who really cares, but it is an issue. It is a serious issue. But I guess I was just going to pivot that to just generally speaking, the war on drugs in general. What would you do maybe in South Dakota differently than maybe the heavy-handed, punitive legislation of the Republicans? I don't know if you thought of any of that. I know governors technically aren't supposed to legislate, but Kristi Noem's kind of setting the example that you kind of do that now.
I definitely think that we need to rethink what we're doing with the quote unquote war on drugs, because it's obviously not helping. It's not working. People are being incarcerated for ingesting things into their own bodies without committing any crime against a victim. And that's something that we definitely need to rethink. The prisons system is overpopulated, and if we want to concentrate on getting violent criminals off the street, then we need to stop concentrating on putting drug users behind bars.
In my experience working in healthcare, I have lots of run-ins with people who are on drugs or have issues with addiction. And I personally think we need to stop treating it like we do violent crimes and treat it like what it is. It's a disease, and those people need medical help to deal with that. The system, the way that it is, it's not working. We need to take on a different mindset with that and treat these underlying issues that these people have that make them turn to things like drugs.
Right.
Well, that is good stuff. Another issue that's kind of came up this week, I saw Angela Kennecke from Kelloland kind of bashing the Noem administration in general over transparency in government, in that apparently she can't get any interviews with anybody in state government. They just ignore her. And kind of, you're kind of experiencing that a little bit. Like even now we were going to bring up some debates, but like Kristi Noem has said she's only going to compete in one debate, and I guess that kind of goes a little bit like with the transparency in government, not wanting to talk to media, keeping everything behind closed doors. Hell, I think she's under investigations from the ethics committee. There was nepotism with her daughter. There was just a lot of stuff, but my question, I guess, goes back to transparency. What does a Quint Strand administration look like for news reporters?
I think what we need to remember is that being elected governor, you're working for the people. The people aren't working, quote unquote, for you. So I think as constituents, as taxpayers, they deserve to have at least some knowledge of what's going on inside the government. There needs to be some transparency. So, I mean, if issues are coming up, I think the people need to know what's going on. So if the news reporters are, within reason asking for updates on something, then we should at least be granting at least a good portion of those.
I agree. We work for the people. They should know what we're doing for them.
I think you should be able to talk to your, I don't know if enemies is the right word, but you should be able to go in front of your opponents. And so I guess probably she's not allowing these interviews for certain people as like payback for negative articles that they may have written. But that kind of, I'll pivot that to the debate aspect. Kristi Noem said that she wouldn't compete in the South Dakota Public Broadcasting debate because they're a leftist organization. And even if they are, which I would kind of agree that they are, that shouldn't matter. As a candidate, you should be able to go and debate anytime, anywhere. These people have no excuses. They have plenty of time and money. It's not an issue of time or money. It's just they don't want to. But you will get the chance to debate Noem. When is that exactly?
September 30th with the Dakota News Now debate that'll take place in Rapid City.
Is there a live studio audience for that?
They have a limited number of people that they're letting in. I know that much. So
how do we get a block of loud libertarians in the front row?
That I don't know. I'll have to find out for you.
And actually, I don't know. I think maybe in the past they've done lieutenant governor type of thing. Have you heard anything about that? No.
No, I haven't heard anything from anyone about having me on.
I got to be honest. I'm not really sure what the lieutenant governor in South Dakota does. Just kind of be there as support and backup for Tracey, I guess.
When I start freaking out, I'll have somebody to help out.
So I guess another thing that's been in the news as far as Noem's concerned, I haven't read all the details about it, but she's really been having a hand in correcting the curriculum in schools this year and, making sure we're studying the right things and we're not being taught the wrong things. And anyway, when I was looking at Twitter earlier, this was kind of interesting. She said, "We are proactively removing critical race theory before opportunity to take hold in our schools." And so that's kind of funny because on the one hand, you're basically admitting that it's not really taught in our schools here, and you're just removing the boogeyman. But what are just your opinions on, governors just being really overly involved in education, maybe, and then maybe critical race theory. Any thoughts on that? If you can even know what it is.
I mean, I guess my opinion on that is I'm not a trained educator, so I don't think that I should be in control of what students are learning. I don't have a degree in education. I don't have a doctorate in education. I mean, somebody that has that experience and that level of knowledge should be the one in charge of what's going to be taught in schools. That shouldn't be something that the governor should be in charge of.
I agree. I think that's an overreach, that people who have degrees in educating children should be in charge of what is taught in our classrooms here. It should be at a more local school board type of level. And having gone to school here, I know, albeit it was quite a few years before all of this has come up, but I definitely didn't think any of that kind of stuff was involved in school. I think it's important for our children to learn history in its truest form. I think we could do better to educate the kids around here about the tribes that we have here in South Dakota, their history, everything that went down with that. But again, I'm not a trained educator, neither is Tracey. We shouldn't have a hand in that. Yeah. That's just personal opinion.
Yeah, and if you're really worked up about it, you can always homeschool. That was kind of my thought,
yeah.
If you're so concerned about what the teachers are teaching, then you might just want to pull your kid out of school.
Yeah.
And teach them yourself.
Yep.
But yeah.
In PTA and school board.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, and then that critical race theory, I guess I still don't really understand exactly. It just kind of seems like it's a blanket statement for everything I don't like is critical race theory. And it's, I mean, a lot of it isn't true history either. You grow up later in life and you kind of like, well, geez, how come I was never taught about this? And how come they do kind of rosy it up just a little bit,
A little bit.
But again, a politician, I guess my argument is always, Christy Dome is picking what your kids are learning this time, but 5-10 years from now, it could be somebody you don't like that's dictating what your kids are learning, and it's a slippery slope, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, what else do we got? Do we want to get into this topic? Everybody wants to know about this topic. Abortion. Supreme Court ruled basically leaving it up to the states. South Dakota decided, well, we already have laws against it, so they just kind of said, well, now they're in place. But when it comes particular to Nome, Nome went on Fox News about a month or two ago, right after that kind of went down, and she basically said under South Dakota, there will be no exceptions for rape, no exceptions for incest. They hypothesize 10-year-old, and she basically didn't answer the question or answered that the kid would have to have the kid. It would be illegal to have the abortion. So what are your guys' stance? That's definitely something that'll get brought up in the debate, I'm sure. What are your guys' stance on that?
I think, again, I'm not a medical professional, and I shouldn't be making medical decisions for anybody, and whether that's, abortion or anything else, that's something that a doctor and the patient need to go over and talk about between them, not something that the government should even be involved with. And, I know people are going to argue about their religious beliefs or their beliefs on when life starts, at conception or wherever. But there's other religions out there that believe that life starts at different points within a pregnancy or even when the baby takes its first breath. Like, we can't force our Judeo-Christian belief on when life starts on a medical issue. It's not something that we should even be jumping into.
I agree. It should be between the person with the pregnancy and the doctor. It's nobody else's business, and we shouldn't be pushing religious beliefs on people. And aside from the abuse aspects of it, abortion can be a medical treatment. There are situations where it needs to happen, that pregnancy is not viable. And that's the treatment for it, to save the mother. So, but that should be between that person and their doctor,
right,
to make that decision.
Well, I think it was Tracey who said something about medical freedom. So I know you've talked about that before too. And COVID over the last couple of years has been a big topic. Kristi Noem, that's kind of how she's been riding high on this wave, is that South Dakota is one of the few states. So she's kind of been taking full credit of that. But what most people don't know is that she actually did try to get the power to shut the state down. The legislature just didn't grant her that authority. So she really didn't have that ability to do it anyways. Of course, that doesn't stop any governor and any to do it from doing it. But so she didn't shut the state down. She's been kind of hard on Biden or these people. You know, I saw she had called for ending what was it, some kind of mandate. But what is your stance on maybe medical freedom in general and how it played out with COVID and stuff like that?
I mean, I think that is something that we did do well as a state, is we didn't shut down. I think we gave people the choice that, you know, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you want to be able to go out in public, go out in public. If you want to work from home and avoid crowds, then you can do that too. Like, there was a lot of different levels of where people stood during COVID. And for the most part, it was pretty open and available for them, whichever way they wanted to go. And I think that's something that we did very well as a state. And if that were to happen again, or if something else like that were to happen again, I would hope that we'd have a similar outcome, that we'd be able to have the freedom to still have group gatherings, to still be able to have, to be able to go to work and earn a living as a people. So
I agree. I think it was handled the best it could have been here, not forcing anybody to do anything. I still feel like here in Rapid, a lot of people were making the choice that I thought was a good one anyway, without being forced. We have a phrase we use a lot in the Libertarian Party: good ideas shouldn't require force. And I think that was my main mantra going through COVID, is if it's really that good of an idea, then people will look at the information and come to that conclusion on their own.
Voluntary, that's the best. Shoot, guys, I didn't have a ton of questions for tonight. You kind of chewed through a bunch of them. One thing that's been in the media is attack ads. Tracey doesn't have any attack ads out, but Kristi Noem and Jamie Smith have one. I didn't see the Jamie Smith one. I tried looking it up earlier, but I had Devin pull up the. We heard this one on TV earlier, and even we were kind of. But I had Devin pull up this Kristi Noem ad. You got that?
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and play that. It's kind of crazy. Politics in 2022, folks.
version of President Joe Biden, Jamie Smith.
Come on, man.
Just like Joe Biden, Jamie Smith is an outspoken liberal and was named one of the most liberal members of the legislature.
Come on, man.
Jamie Smith backed bills that would confiscate firearms. That's why Smith has an F rating from the NRA, just like Biden.
Come on, man.
Jamie Smith even voted to allow men to compete in women's sports.
Come on, man.
Joe and Jamie are double trouble. Say no to Jamie Smith.
Double trouble.
Wow.
That should be you guys' new campaign slogan. Double trouble.
I think ours would mean something a little different, though. So,
Quint and Strand, double trouble. No, that was just kind of a crazy little ad. I heard it earlier. We were just kind of like, holy.
that's. I mean, granted, we, like I said to Kello the other day, like, we don't have the budget necessarily to put on television ads. But I would hope that if we did, our decision would be to put on an ad saying what we're going to do for the state rather than vote against whatever is wrong with the other guys. So I understand why people put attack ads out, but I'm kind of disappointed that that's mostly what we're seeing this campaign season.
Yeah.
Are you surprised the Democrat came out endorsing legalized marijuana this year? Because 4 years ago, Billy Sutton was only in favor of medical, I believe. Like, he wasn't in favor of recreational. So I think it kind of shows how far we've come maybe in attitudes in 4 years. But I was surprised when I saw that he was pro legalization, I guess.
I think it's been coming for a while that most people are going to be pretty well in support of it, especially with the backlash that happened with the fight against the legalization last time we voted for it. I think if he'd have come out and said that he was against it too, I think he probably, I think he would have lost a lot of votes that way too.
Yeah. I think it was just in general a smart move, whether he believes it or not.
Right.
But yeah, it's what the people of South Dakota have said they want. And I've even spoken to some people who are against recreationally legal marijuana who just are upset with the way things were handled. We voted for that, and it was taken away from us. And that makes them uncomfortable, whether they're for legalization or not.
Right. I think when the politicians start working against their constituents, that's when people start to get a little bit leery of what's going on in your government. So,
but that is where libertarian candidates like you guys have an opportunity, because like that ad we just listened to, they're going after him because he has an F rating from the NRA. And libertarians, and actually, I mean, why don't I ask you guys your opinion on the subject instead of just assuming, huh? What do you guys think about the Second Amendment? I would assume if the NRA were to give you a letter, which they don't give libertarian candidates a letter, but it would not be an F, but I'll let you guys talk about your stance.
I mean, libertarians are all for the freedoms that are supposed to be granted to us, especially freedoms that are guaranteed to us in the Constitution. And the Second Amendment says that, our ability to bear arms shouldn't be inhibited upon. So if you feel the need to own a gun, I think that's a right that you have, and you should be able to do so.
Yeah, I agree. It's protected in the Constitution, period. And as a woman, I believe that gun rights are women's rights. If you live somewhere where you don't feel comfortable walking around your neighborhood at night and you need something to protect yourself, you should have. Some people are frightened by guns, they don't want to own one. That idea scares them. So get some pepper spray, get go take a martial arts class or something. But if someone wants to make the choice to carry a firearm for their protection or have a firearm in their home for their protection, that is their right.
An armed society is a polite society, as they say. No, so like one thing, I know you guys are running for state office, but one thing I keep hearing about is the Congress, they passed the most sweeping gun reform, blah, 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 but they keep talking about doing more. I've heard of possible like AR-15 bans. Where do you guys stand on like states' rights, the ability to nullify federal laws? Like you said, if it's in the Constitution, as governor or something like that, could you see yourself maybe just ignoring a federal law? I know when it comes to guns, it might seem scary, but ignoring a federal law could be something as similar as Colorado legalizing marijuana in 2012. That was federally illegal. But what do you guys possibly nullifying bad laws?
I think the state should definitely have the rights to nullify laws. I think when our country was originally formed, the federal government wasn't supposed to have the kind of power that it does now. And the state should be able to have more of those rights to decide, amongst their constituents what they want to have on the books. So I think the states definitely have a right to and an obligation to, if that's what the people of their state want.
I agree. And I think if something like that were to happen, and no matter who wins this race and is in office when that happens, I can't see South Dakota going down quietly. If something like that were to happen, you would have lots of angry ranchers with shotguns on your doorstep.
Yeah.
Especially out West River.
Oh yeah. I grew up. I've been shooting guns since I was 4. I used to shoot the .22 long rifle with my dad helping me hold it up as a kid. We were taught very, very early how dangerous they can be. I get a lot of funny faces when I tell people about that, but my dad did a very good job with my brother and I, making sure we knew we were not to touch those things when dad wasn't around. They were stored safely, and we grew up not afraid of them.
I think that's probably one of the biggest steps to creating a more safe society, as far as like gun safety is if you learn from a young age how to handle a gun and what you can and can't do with it, like that's I think one of the first steps for people to feel safer around guns and to maybe stop some of the gun violence. If the only knowledge you have about guns is what you've seen in movies or in video games, then that's the reference you're working off of, and that's a dangerous reference to work off of, I think.
Yeah, and we're getting to the point here in Rapid City. I've heard lots of stories about people finding a stray gun in an alleyway. Children might, it's still fairly rare here, but children might come across something like that, and they should know not to touch it, maybe even how to make sure that it is empty and who to talk to about that they found it, because they could so much as pick it up and not be holding it correctly and hurt themselves or somebody else. It's a very important thing for people to know about, as scary as it might be for some people. If we don't, it's just like sex ed. If we don't talk about it, if we take the abstinence route, people aren't going to know what they need to know to protect themselves.
Right.
Abstinence is the only way. You find Jesus, then you'll find your wife.
Don't touch guns, kids. You will get pregnant. You will die.
Yep.
Man, I got thought of a good photo op for you guys. You guys should go over to Gary's Guns and have a contest on Sunday after Freedom Feast.
Yeah.
Shooting contest. See which one of you guys are the better shot.
I think she might win, but
I'm terrible with a gun, but you guys might.
It depends. I've been hunting for a long time, Tracy, so I'm a little better with a rifle. But if we do pistols, we might be about even.
That might be. I don't know. I have a little tiny pistol, so.
I think it'd be fun to see you two go against Christy and Larry Roden in a competition.
You guys made that meme. My pistol just might be bigger than Larry Roden's.
I'm game. We should definitely set that up.
Yeah, Christy or Larry, if you're watching, let's get a charity event going on. You two versus Tracy and Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
No, I did actually think that would be. I thought about that a while ago. I was like, that'd be pretty cool. But, they like to ignore us. That's why they probably will not be putting out any Tracey Quint attack ads with her libertarian positions.
I mean, we've never been a threat to them before, but if we start getting out there, they might start doing it.
Maybe she could come out
of my closet.
Maybe they could come out with an attack ad and be like, "She's just like Joe Jorgensen." Their libertarian agenda.
Not that.
Just like Joe Jorgensen, we're gonna steal too many votes from Christy
to
lose to the Democrat.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We spoil elections.
Oh yeah.
That's what we're here for. Well, I had somebody call us a Republican today. And they were like, well, no thanks, you're basically just a Republican. It's like, look, if I was a Republican, why would I waste my time putting in all this time and effort trying to differentiate us and establish an actual third party to compete against these people? Like, I wouldn't be wasting my time with that. We are not Republicans. Right. We're not Democrats. We're libertarians. There's a difference.
We just want to leave people alone.
Yeah. We've got one more ballot measure, Constitutional Amendment D. This one says, amends the Constitution to require South Dakota to provide Medicaid benefits to adults between 18 and 65 with incomes below 133% of the federal poverty level. Have either of you looked into that, and do you support or are you against that measure?
The only thing that I really want to say about that is I would caution people before they start supporting putting the government in charge of your healthcare. Once the government's in charge of something, you're never going to get the control for whatever that issue is back. And the healthcare that the government has been in charge of, if you take a look at things like the veterans health system and that kind of thing, like things are so far behind and so discombobulated that I'm afraid if we put our trust in the government to deal with our healthcare system, like it's going to be even worse than we think it is now. And I think people are going to regret it a lot.
Yeah, I agree with Tracy. If you talk to anybody that's been involved with the VA, I think they would agree that if we put the government in charge of that, it's not going to go well. And that goes back to how we feel about medical freedom too. We don't want the government in the doctor's office.
Right, because once we start putting government in charge of paying for medical issues whatsoever, like then the government's going to think that they have a choice in it, and they're going to decide what's acceptable and what's not acceptable and what they should pay for and what they shouldn't pay for. People are going to end up with health issues that are going to ruin them. And I know that people say that already happens financially, but it's going to get worse, and the time periods that people are going to have to wait to see a specialist are going to get terrible. So
cost will go up.
What's that?
The cost will increase, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Sean Dano had a question.
I'll put it up. Non-indigenous bodies of water, public access ? Private parties are not allowed to build on it, even though they own it, and there's currently no public access. I guess he's talking about state-owned lakes and stuff.
I know it was a big issue a couple years ago, and it's kind of getting talked about again. But basically, there's certain areas, especially in the northeast part of South Dakota, where there's basically lakes, but they didn't exist 10, 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of questions about, because private people obviously own it and became a lake, but now the public wants access to it or whatever. I guess his question is, or I guess I didn't know private parties are not allowed to build on it.
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you own the land, you should have the right to do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other priorities you're trying to do if you're elected to office that we haven't brought up yet this evening?
I think that for the most part, we've brought up a lot of the issues that are big for us, but also like as a governor candidate, I really just want to make it clear to the people of South Dakota that if I'm elected, that's who I'm going to work for. I want to work for the people that elect me and not necessarily for the lobbyists, not for, the issues or whatever. I want to work for the people, and I want to hear their concerns and want to know what they want out of government.
Yeah.
So I did think of one more question, because it's not necessarily a state issue. It could kind of maybe go back to that nullify. It might be a good law to nullify. But Biden was talking about, apparently right now, because the federal, I don't know if it's 100% this reason, but because the federal government still has marijuana as a schedule, whatever, controlled substance, they were talking about gun rights and the Second Amendment and how medical marijuana patients are actually at risk because they kind of say you shouldn't be allowed to own firearms if you have a medical marijuana card. And the article the other day was put out by Reason about it, and he just basically said, yeah, if you if you use medical marijuana, essentially you shouldn't own firearms. What do you guys think about that?
I think that sounds really silly. People are, ingest all kinds of different things into their bodies on a daily basis, and none of it usually hinders their ability to buy a firearm or to own a firearm, or at least it shouldn't. And it's not like most people who are on medical marijuana are walking around stoned out of their brains. Like most of them can still cognitively figure out how to use a firearm if it's an emergency situation. So I think that's something that should be nullified.
Exactly. We don't do that with other prescription medications. And plenty of big pharma medications that are out there have effects on your brain. You see a lot of commercials for medications where they say, hey, don't operate machinery on this medication. And I don't think we have any rules in place saying people on those medications can't purchase firearms if they want to. So why do it with marijuana?
Yeah, and I would just expand that even. This kind of goes back to what you were saying about you don't want the government in charge of your health care, and you also don't want the government combing through your medical records to decide what you can own and what you can't own, because mental health is definitely a topic that's been brought up a lot, and it's kind of been brought to the forefront. But it's not a stretch to believe that one of the gun control solutions would be, well, we need access to people's medical records because we need to know if they have bipolar disorder, or we need to know if they're on medications for depressants, and we need to know if, so it starts with medical marijuana for no reason,
Right.
which marijuana does not make you violent in the least. But it starts with medical marijuana, and then, if you don't fight for that right, within a couple years, it's now we're coming after your Wellbutrin or whatever, and if you're on any of these drugs, you're not allowed to own a fire. I don't know.
I work in the healthcare industry. One of our biggest rules we have to follow is HIPAA. We can't give out medical information to anybody. I don't think the people in Pierre or the people in Washington or the people at the gun shop down the street should have access to anybody's medical records.
No, definitely not.
Good stuff. What do we got coming up here? Just to brag, talk about for a few minutes. Freedom Feast. It's coming up this Saturday. I believe both you ladies are going to be there. Is that correct?
That's the plan.
So that takes place at the Palisades. We're going to be there all day. Yeah, if you want to meet either of these two candidates, definitely come out, stop out, hang out, have a beer.
Free food.
Free
Yep,
food.
there you go.
We'll plug Sean McDaniel. He's been giving us some questions, but he donated like $180 worth of food for Saturday. And then I know I donated some stuff. My brother donated some stuff. It's going to be like $250 worth of food at this dang thing.
Show up and eat.
Yeah. Yeah, in years past, I've kind of had to send home everyone who's came. It's like, all right, you're going home with a half a rack of ribs. You're going home with a half a rack of ribs. According to Facebook, though, the numbers, which you can never believe what is actually on there, I kind of take that number and divide it in half. But there's like 75, 80 responses to the event. So I think this could be one of our best turned out events, 40 plus people there. It'll seem like a lot in that little area.
Nice.
What a problem.
Right? Yeah, right. And we can collect some donations if you want to donate to these candidates. We got a couple things. I didn't have it picked up, or I didn't have the picture. Here, let me send it to Devin real quick. Ashley has been hard at work coming up with a couple of things to donate to auction off at the event. Here. But so I just wanted to get that picture quick. She's been it's cross stitch, isn't it?
Yep.
All right, here, let me see.
How long does it take you to make one of these, Ashley?
So the one with the flowers on it took me 3 days. And the one with the house on it only took me 2 days working on it off and on. I've gotten really fast at it. I've made quite a few for myself and for my friends and Mother's Day gifts. So we're speedy at it now.
Yeah, they look pretty cool. It's like what your grandma had hanging on her wall, but a lot cooler than what grandma would have had on the wall.
All right, put it up here.
So who do you have coming up on the show in the next few weeks, Greg?
Well, actually, so next week we will not be doing one because that's the week of Freedom Feast. The week after that, here we go.
Yeah. Those are awesome. Who wouldn't want that hanging up in their house? Like, no one wants to live, laugh, learn. That's outdated. That was like early 2000s when that was around. But this is the new trend right here. Taxation is theft, and come back with a warrant. That's perfect.
Those are fantastic.
Some lucky person's gonna go home with those. But yeah, coming up. So nothing next week. Nothing the week after that, because the other event I wanted to plug is the LPSD got a booth at the Huron South Dakota State Fair. It runs September 1st through the 5th. Ashley is talking about being there the 2nd and the 3rd. So if you're in Huron or near Huron and you want to meet or talk to Ashley, you can meet her the 2nd and 3rd. I think Tracey was talking about maybe wanting to go on the 4th.
Yep.
That's Sunday. So if you want to meet Tracey, and again, you're near the state fair, stop in on Sunday. If you want to meet me, I'll be there Thursday and Monday, handing out stuff, twisting people's arm, making them join the party. You can register to vote. We got a button maker. We're going to make some buttons. We're going to give out some stuff at that booth. The other event I wanted to plug was the 19th of September, which is a Monday. We are going to do a fundraiser for Tracey at the T Pizza Ranch.
Rock on.
Oh, yeah. Pizza Ranch. You don't get much better in the southeast South Dakota and Iowa than Pizza Ranch.
Chicken and pizza, man. Chicken and pizza.
So kind of cool. I mean, it sounds like you'll get a percentage of everything that night. So it isn't necessarily just like who we bring in. So anybody that eats at Pizza Ranch that night. So it's like, even if you're not political, you need to order some food for pickup from Pizza Ranch that night. That'll be cool.
Awesome.
And that should fund you, I mean, to get you at least 5 or 6 ads on TV at least. We're going to be slinging a lot of pizza that night.
There we go. Come in and eat a pizza buffet. Pay for our political ads.
And yeah, they did. Pizza Ranch raised their inflation, hit them too, so prices have raised a little bit, so it might add up. But yeah, so Pizza Ranch the 19th. That's kind of cool. Something to do, something to get out and do. And then you have that debate you were talking about, September 30th.
Yep, that's correct. September 30th with Dakota News Now, and they will be live streaming that as well.
So we had talked about possibly kind of like watch party for that event. Maybe Ashley, what time's your debate? 7 o'clock?
They haven't released a time yet.
Okay. Well, maybe if it's early enough, that's something you guys can talk about later. But I was just kind of spitballing. Maybe you guys could have a meet and greet event after the debate in Rapid City for an hour or something like that, and you can meet some people out there. But what we were talking about doing over here was some kind of like watch party for the debate, possibly online, possibly in person. Just another reason to get together. We can throw eggs at the TV, and whenever Noam starts talking, good times. I know another event I want to schedule would be like your victory party. That's really what it is. So I'd like to get your victory party on November 8th scheduled someplace up there. I tried I actually emailed them today. It was one of your places that you, I think you work at from time to time, doing that Singo. Is that Shenanigans?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I didn't realize they rented out the rooms. I thought they would just give us a room.
It depends on when you ask them. Some days they just give it, and some days they're like, we're gonna charge you for it.
Right? Yeah. So I was like, "Hey, man,
quit asking on Mondays, Greg. Jesus.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, here's how much it costs." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, buddy! This is a victory room for the new governor, and you're trying to charge us? You have no idea how crony capitalism works. All right."
Did you tell him it wasn't for a weekend?
I don't remember exactly what I said for the email. I should have just asked. I should have just asked you. I was just trying to be gung ho about it because I made a post about all of our upcoming events over the next month or so, and I was trying to be a little too gung ho about it. I was like, "Oh, maybe I can slip this event in quick."
If you let them know it's for election night and not for like a Saturday, sometimes though.
Yeah, it's like a Tuesday.
Yeah, sometimes.
Part of me almost feels like we could literally just pick a place and just go there
and just show up
because it's Tuesday. You know, I mean, but again, victory night. I mean, there could be hundreds of people there. I mean,
there could be. No, we've done things at Shenanigans before, so I
know you guys did do that watch party last time. I think their election night,
a
couple of years ago. So yeah, that was pretty cool. I was just trying to think of something new. I know I was looking at that JJ's. That's another one that's not too bad because they got that bar in the back, and like I said, on a Tuesday, you got to figure nobody's there, but.
At least not crowded, not overly crowded or anything. But we'll figure something out.
Well, geez, I'm trying to think of any last minute questions, but you guys, is it true you guys hate roads?
My roads! No, we don't hate roads.
As governor, would you tear up every single mile of pavement?
I don't think that's how it works. No, that's not the plan.
Lost my vote.
You'll still be able to drive to work, I promise.
Hover cars. If we elect Tracey Quint, within 5 years, we will have hover cars.
Don't start making campaign promises that I can't keep there.
Well, that's the beauty of it. You're not making promises, I am. No. And I have no authority to speak on behalf of you or...
True story.
Tracey Quint does not approve this message.
Yeah.
I made no such promise.
Oh, man. You guys have seen this video just because this would be funny to play.
What?
Because we were going over attack ads before. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's a freaking campaign commercial, but it was if politicians told the truth in their campaign ads.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Should we close out with that video?
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys have any final thoughts before Greg plays the video? Then I'll just end the podcast when it's over.
The only final thought is if you guys want to learn more about us, you can check out our website or our Facebook page, or you can contact us and ask us questions directly. We'll usually try to get back to you and let you know what our answers are.
Yeah. If more media wants to reach out to us, we're an open book. We're not going to put out a presser saying we won't talk to anybody. So call us.
Well, I lied. I'm not going to be able to find it.
Oh my God, Greg. Oh my God. You ruined the podcast, Greg.
It would have been a good one, but yeah.
We'll save it for Colin when he comes on, I guess.
Oh, yeah. So Tracy asked who we have upcoming. Our next podcast will be September 25th, unless we schedule one before then. We're going to have Colin Duprell, who's running for U.S. House of Representatives in a two-way race against Dusty Johnson. Sounds like he's been pounding the pavement and kicking butt out in Rapid City. Ashley's been hanging out with him a little bit, campaigning for him. So how's that been going?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm going with him to campaign for him. I'm going with him because he's going to stuff that I also think is important, that somebody's there to represent Tracey and I. Recently, we went and listened to Dusty Johnson speak together, and then we went to Jamie Smith's event here in Rapid afterwards, and I actually met and spoke with Jamie for a minute. So it's been going good. Kind of jealous that Colin has the support of the Democrats, but I get it. They've got Jamie, so they're not going to be planning any events for us.
No.
But that's okay. I'll just crash your events, Jamie. Already proven that.
So you guys are both doing a little campaigning, though. You guys both did an event at Pride, Sioux Falls, Rapid City. How was that for you guys?
That was really good. I know here at the Sioux Falls one, there was quite a few people that stopped in and were supportive of just the Libertarian Party in general, and glad to see that we have a candidate running for multiple offices. And that was really cool for a lot of people to see that they don't just have a Democrat or a Republican choice. They do have a Libertarian choice as well.
It was about the same here in Rapid. There were lots of people that were excited to see us. There was even quite a few people that were from the two duopoly parties that were just interested in figuring out who we were. Some that didn't know who we were at all. And they're frustrated and starting to feel, if they didn't already feel politically homeless, there are a lot of newly politically homeless people, more and more every day. And yeah, a lot of people were excited to see us running and see us come into events and excited to learn about the Libertarian Party.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for coming on the show tonight. And like I said, there's a couple places you can meet these two coming up. Freedom Feast, Palisades State Park by Sioux Falls this Saturday. The next week we'll be in Huron at the State Fair, and you can see Tracey on Sunday, and you can see Ashley on Friday and Saturday. And go ahead and go to their website. She said Quint2022.org. Give them a lot of money. They need money. You guys got any yard signs made? Will you have any for Freedom Feast or the State Fair at all?
We're trying to work on it. We're going to see what we can do here.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm good for another $5 if you need it.
Might take you up on that one.
Put me down.
Thank you.
Well, maybe some of our millions of listeners will help you out too. That'd be nice.
Everybody send in $1, they'll have $1 million.
There
I'm
you
in.
go.
All right, thanks for coming on, guys. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. See you this weekend.
And thank you, South Dakota, for tuning in.